Another World Warrior for Japan has just finished with a surprising result, where we had a Lily player, Hibiki, getting first place, and Lily consistently ranked bottom 5 or even considered probably the worst character in Street Fighter 6. With such a surprising result of a Lily getting first place at a major tournament like this, I ended up listening to the Extra Trashy podcast. As I was listening to the podcast, Brian F. and Idam were giving their thoughts on the results for Japan World Warrior 2, and Idam said something that really made me think.
This is a rare occurrence.
Hibiki's insane, but like I said, I'm also, like you said, I'm not that surprised. I would be more surprised seeing like a Nemesis win a Marvel tournament or a DJ win a Street Fighter 4 tournament. Like it's not the same as seeing Lily win a Street Fighter 6 tournament.
Though it is true that Lily winning a major event is not expected, at the same time, it is also not surprising, it feels like. So what makes a DJ player in Street Fighter 4 winning more surprising compared to Lily in Street Fighter 6, as both characters are considered bottom tier in their respective games? Well, Idam gave us a hint as to why that may be the case.
Drive Rush is really strong. Perfect Parry is really strong. So it's kind of the game mechanics also Hibiki being amazing.
Yes, system mechanics in a fighting game can certainly have a wide range of effectiveness when it comes to helping a character with its viability. Some mechanics can absolutely turn the tides of a match, while others probably still require you to ask for some sort of miracle. Now, I'm not saying that the system mechanics will allow you to make any character viable in any game. I mean, the examples that I used of Third Strike and Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, despite the strong mechanics of Parry and X Factor respectively, the bottom tiers of each games are not going to start magically appearing in top 8. However, it certainly does help in making them more viable to play and consistently place high in high-level competitions. So let's compare the mechanics of Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 6, and why low tiers in Street Fighter 6 are more viable compared to low tiers in Street Fighter 4. So the mechanics, of course, that we need to talk about are Drive Rush, Parry, and Burnout. Each of these mechanics can cause you to go from a losing position in a match to a winning one in just an instant. Drive Rush especially being the number one culprit in allowing the volatility of a match. If your normal is special cancelable, then you can spend 3 meters to Drive Rush out of that button, which is probably the strongest aspect of Drive Rush, being able to immediately get in on your opponent just by using a normal and 3 bars of your meter, and it forces the defender to be at the mercy of the offender in that situation. On top of that, the whiff punishing becomes even more brutal, as not only do you get great damage from the combo you're going to inevitably hit, but also you get great Oki, so you snowball even further on your offense. And on top of that, depending on the character, you might be able to take the opponent all the way into the corner. It's probably the strongest Street Fighter mechanic that Street Fighter has ever created out of the entire series. And because of how strong it is, it pretty much makes every character viable despite the power levels between top tiers and low tiers. But if you get jump scared by the color green, well, how about the color blue? Because Perfect Parry is another culprit. Though they did nerf it a bit by forcing you to hold a certain direction if you want to perfect parry highs or lows, having the opportunity to turn the tides of a match out of nowhere is still deadly. The best example of how strong Perfect Parry is, we just got to look at the EWC match between Momochi and Riddles, where Momochi last round was absolutely in a losing position until one perfect parry basically turned the tides in the match and allowing Momochi to snowball his offense against Riddles and winning the entire thing.
Punch, couple of lights again, followed by the flicker. How do you keep the control against Riddles in a very, very brave Walk up throw, gets tagged.
What a snipe from Momochi as well, using the flicker to completely delete the power away. Oh, he didn't confirm that. Tries to get the dash under. He catches him low. Is he going to get built to the level 1? He does, and that's just enough. Momochi clutches it out to survive.
Finally, we have Burnout. So Burnout is essentially a mechanic that punishes you for recklessly using your drive meter, as it is very enticing to abuse it since it has such strong applications in this game. If you are in Burnout, then you effectively take 4 extra frames of block stun, you take chip damage from specials and supers, and you get stunned in the corner if you get drive impacted. I think an aspect about why low tiers are so viable in Street Fighter 6 is that the applications of these 3 mechanics are, in a way, very uniform, if that makes sense. What I mean is that every character in Street Fighter 6 can equally take advantage of how strong each mechanic is. From top tiers like Akuma to all the way to the bottom like Lily, if they drive rush at you, perfect parry you, or have you in Burnout, you're not going to have a good time. The uniformity of how each character is able to take advantage of all these 3 strong mechanics makes it so that, it's entirely possible that almost any character can shine in high-level competition. Now, this does lead to one of Street Fighter 6's biggest problem, which is that almost every character can kind of more or less play the same. Despite how the positives of having every character be viable due to the universal applications of strong mechanics, if every character is incentivized to use them and incorporate that into their gameplay, then it ends up making it so that every character plays kind of similar. So then, let's take a look at Street Fighter 4 and why DJ winning a major is almost impossible compared to Lily and Street Fighter 6. So Street Fighter 4 is a pretty brutal game against the low tiers, where Street Fighter 6, despite there being a clear gap in power amongst the cast of top tiers and bottom tiers, the gap isn't as wide as we think. But in Street Fighter 4, the gap between top tiers and bottom tiers are like a chasm. Not to say that you can't have success with mid to low tier characters. I mean, BG Unchained with Cody was able to win against Bonchan, and Alex Vi with Hugo was able to win against Bonchan. But there comes a point where the strengths of top tier characters becomes so insurmountable that pretty much you're just not going to be able to win. Now, what contributes to this severe power gap are some of the system mechanics in Street Fighter 4. So first off are Ultras, which is the signature mechanic for Street Fighter 4. This is your comeback mechanic where if you were to take damage, whether permanent, chip, or gray, your Ultra meter goes up. At 50% mark, you can essentially use your Ultra, but if you take more damage and the meter goes more full, then you do more damage with the Ultra. The problem with Ultras are that, one, the quality of the Ultra wildly varies between character to character. Unlike in Street Fighter 6, where Drive Rush, Perfect Parry, and or Burnout, the applicability and the power of them are pretty much the same amongst the cast, the Ultras amongst the cast members in Street Fighter 4 are unfortunately not that way. Some Ultras are just downright bad, some have limited applications, and others can be just downright broken. Let's compare 2 characters in this scenario, Dudley and Deejay, when it comes to their Ultras. Now, Dudley is not a top tier character, but he is certainly strong. An aspect that makes him so good is his useful Ultras. You have Ultra 1, which is a good tool to punish any fireball character that carelessly throws a projectile on the screen, and you have Ultra 2, which is a good combo finisher that does good damage. Smug, the best Dudley player in the world, constantly would pick Ultra 1, 2, or both, depending on the matchup. Both of these Ultras complement Dudley, and the application of them are pretty smooth. But now let's take a look at DJ's Ultras, both of which have some problems. Ultra 1, like Dudley's Ultra 1, has projectile invulnerability at the start, so you would think that the application for Ultra 1 for DJs to deter fireball characters from being able to throw out their projectiles, right? Well, unfortunately Ultra 1 is tied to a charge input.
No, God! No, God, please, no!
Meaning that it's pretty obvious when you're trying to fish out a fireball and then punish it with your Ultra 1 as DJ. You're walking back or holding down back, your opponent's not going to throw any fireballs. Whereas with Dudley's Ultra 1, it's tied to a motion input. So no matter where he is on the screen, if he has Ultra 1, you're taking a risk by throwing a fireball at him. Now let's take a look at Ultra 2 for DJ. It similarly has the function of being able to be comboed into like Dudley's Ultra 2, but the ways that you combo into it is very awkward for DJ. The most common way would be to land an EX machine gun upper and then comboing it into Ultra 2. But the problem is how you're even gonna get a combo into EX machine gun upper in the first place. You need down charge to get this move out, and really the only reliable crouching move that's special cancelable from DJ is crouching medium punch. So you have two problems that culminate in a scenario where the only way that DJ could get this combo off from crouching medium punch into machine gun upper EX is if the opponent does something super unsafe like you blocking their DP or something, and you happen to be holding down back. The difference is in how applicable these ultras can be between characters, or the lack of uniformity in this case really starts to exacerbate the gap in viability between bottom tiers and everyone else. As you can see, DJ is even a much worse character because one of the big mechanics, Ultra, he's not going to be able to use effectively compared to other characters who have access to the same mechanic. But Ultras are not the only thing. We do have FADC, another key mechanic in the Street Fighter IV universe. So, at the expense of 2 bars of meter, you can essentially cancel out of your special moves, and it could be used for a wide variety of things, whether it be for combos or to make yourself not as punishable on like a blocked DP FADC. Now, in this example, we can go ahead and compare a different low tier like Dhalsim and an actual like high top tier, probably one of the best characters in the game, Evil Ryu. So Evil Ryu obviously takes advantage of how strong the FADC mechanic is, using it to consistently land one of the most damaging combos in the game from just a low forward fireball into FADC. On top of him being able to land these damaging combos from using FADC, because he has a DP, he could DP FADC on knockdown so that he essentially could turn the tides of a match with an Ultra, or at worst, he can make himself slightly less punishable by doing the DP FADC if it gets blocked. Now, when we look at Dhalsim, he doesn't have the same luxuries, unfortunately. Dhalsim just doesn't have the ability to effectively use FADCs. He doesn't have any real combos that would require him to do so, or he doesn't really have any reversals that allow him to, make himself less punishable on wake up. There might be some rare cases like Red Focus that Dhalsim might use in a combo, I suppose, but overall the applicability of this mechanic is completely different between Dhalsim and Evil Ryu. Because the application of Ultras and FADCs completely differ from character to character, and the usefulness is not uniform amongst the whole cast, the power levels between low tiers and top tiers just become even more exacerbated.
Pick the top tier, just pick the top tier.
But I suppose, despite the lack of uniformity, because these mechanics are not equally applied to each character, you definitely have distinguishing playstyles between character to character. Evil Ryu, DJ, Yun, Elena, Dan all play significantly different from one another, making each playstyle unique. So that ultimately becomes one of the big issues, right? Do we want strong universal mechanics that every character can use effectively, but at the expense of having all the gameplay styles amongst those characters be kind of reduced to being somewhat the same? Or should these universal mechanics have different effective applications amongst the cast, making it so that there is more unique gameplay styles at the expense of maybe certain characters just being unviable, or other characters being so much more stronger due to abusing the mechanics more effectively? Tell me in the comments below what you think. This is just a random shower thought kind of moment for me. It definitely did sort of pique my interest when Idom was talking about just how strong the Street Fighter 6 mechanics were and how it pretty much makes every character viable. And I started thinking about, you know, all the different kinds of mechanics from Street Fighter games of the past, and seeing why, you know, low tiers and top tiers were at least a lot more vast in their power levels compared to Street Fighter 6. But other than that, thank you very much for watching the video. If you do enjoy it, please like and subscribe. I'm hoping to try to consistently make content on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, so, you know, I'm hoping that this consistent upload schedule will at least make you a little bit more invested in what I have to say about the fighting games and the games that I'm interested in. But other than that, this is the Yuckster. Thank you very much for watching this video again, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. See you around.